Flooding in the nation of Vietnam headlines today's show. I'm Colors. Thank you for making us part of your day. October is a part of the rainy season in the communist nation of Vietnam, but this year precipitation has been particularly heavy. Meteorologists say the natural La Nina phenomenon in the Pacific may be to blame. Hundreds of thousands of homes are underwater. There have been some major landslides, and Reuters news agency reported yesterday 111 people are dead and 22 were still missing. The president of Vietnam's Record Society says the floods are some of the worst nations has seen in decades. Everywhere we look, she says, homes, roads, and infrastructure have been submerged. Rescuers are bringing in supplies by air, sea, and land. The floods are just affecting lives, they are affecting livelihoods. 40% of Vietnam's labor force works in agriculture, and the government-run news agencies say more than 17,000 acres of crops have been lost, in addition to over 691,000 cattle and poultry that have been washed away. Combine that with the loss of tourism revenue, first from COVID-19 and now from the flooding, the international aid workers say millions of people could be pushed towards the brink of poverty. Tropical storm which recently caused flooding and evacuations in the Philippines is headed toward Vietnam. Final U.S. presidential debate of 2020 is scheduled to be held tonight. It will be at Belmont University of National Tennessee. There were supposed to be the three of these events between incumbent Republican President Donald Trump and Donald nominee Joe Biden, but last week's debate was cancelled. After President Donald Trump tweeted for coronavirus early this month, the Commission of Presidential Debate decided the second one would be held virtually, but it didn't consult with the candidates first. While former Vice President Biden's campaign agreed to it, President Trump did not, so the candidates participated in separate town hall events instead. Today's moderator is Kristen Walker, an anchor and correspondent for NBC News. She's planning to cover 6 topics spanning each of them, and there will be a change day this time around. While each candidate has 2 minutes to answer the initial questions, the other candidate's microphone will be turned off. The goal was to reduce the interrupting and bickering that took place in the first debate on September 29th. The microphones will be turned back on after candidates have each those questions, and simultaneous arguments between them will still be possible after that. I'm Scott McLean in Berlin, where Europe's second wave of coronavirus is showing no signs of slowing, despite a patch of work curfews and restrictions being imposed across the continent. One popular vacation areas in southern Germany had just kicked out hundreds of tourists and imposed 2 weeks stay at home order with exception for the work conditions. The worst hit countries here are Netherlands, Belgium, and Czech Republic, which has just recorded another high case count. With the health system nearing incapacity, the government is building a field hospital in Prague to deal with the expected overflow. It's also reimposing unpopular but effective mandate to wear masks even outdoors. This morning, the Czech Parliament will meet in an emergency session to discuss even stricter measures. London, where in nearby Ireland, the Prime Minister, the Taoiseach there, has told the country he is putting it on the toughest lockdown in Europe. It'll last 6 weeks, he says. The idea that they would be push down the surging coronavirus infection rate and nearby people would have a better Christmas. People are being told to work from home. They've been told they cannot roam more than 3 miles from their houses. Only essential retail stores will be opened. There's a lot of division in Ireland about this, a lot of disquiet and discomfort. I'm Christy Lustout in Hong Kong. Since July, administering experimental coronavirus vaccines under the emergency use program authorized by Beijing, but now those receiving these vaccines are people working in high-risk professions like medical workers and border patrol agents, as well as some diplomats and state-owned company employees who travel overseas. Because the vaccine is still in clinic trials, some experts worry that it can cause no side effects, but an official with China's National Health Commission say so far no serious adverse reactions have been reported. 10-second trivia. A mixture of compounds formed by smaller molecules is called what? Solvent, carbon, polymer, or steroid? The answer is polymer, a compound that can be natural or artificial. natural or artificial. Plastic is an artificial polymer. It's cheap, it's lightweight, it doesn't rust, it's long lasting. But that is one of the disadvantages. We reported on the lingering little oval. An American company is working on the polymer that can be shaped or molded like plastic, but it still breaks down completely in the environment. It's not cheap. A set of air carbon cutlery. 4 cents. An air carbon handbag costs more than $500. The designer nylon one runs 115. But if the new polymer products can be scaled up and priced down, they could help with the plastic pollution problem. When you think about it, greenhouse gas is the basis of life. Nature is gobbling greenhouse gas every day. When you found only on this, there are natural life organisms in the ocean that consumes greenhouse gas as a food source. What they discovered was that with the organism, they can create a safe plastic alternatives, and at the same time remove harmful carbon emissions from the atmosphere. For over a decade, they've been developing a way to do that at scale. This is the first commercial production plant. This is one of the most beautiful things that I could look at. It is in the eye of the beholder, boss. So explain to me this yours beautiful you're looking at here. Here's why it's beautiful. This is basically what happens in the ocean recreate on land. These large tanks are full of salt water and microorganisms found in oceans. When the organisms are with greenhouse gases like methane and CO2, they naturally produce biopolymer. We have this pure white powder that we can melt and form in all kinds of parts and pieces, which, like plastic, can be molded into a variety of products, from furniture into packaging or products like straws and cutlery. This straw, as an example, reduces the amount of carbon in the air by 30 grams. Now, by itself, it's not a lot, but imagine companies that are using hundreds of millions of straws a year. We are talking about tens of thousands of CO2 that would otherwise be in the air, now destroyed or scarcer. And when it's natural, it degrades in the ocean in about a year. Plastic, it can take hundreds of years. It kind of solves two problems, both the plastic pollution problems and also climate change. Introduce air carbon to the world. The new light is launching direct-to-consumer brands in footwear and in fashion, an industry which is responsible for 10% of global carbon emissions. What do you think it's going to take for plastic alternatives like air carbon to make a dent? In order to really make the kind of impact we want to make, we spend a lot of time working to bring something to the market that people can afford. We make premium products that are designed to go out in very, very large scale and can be head on with the incumbents that are now there in the world today. We are making them available and we find the direct to consumer basis. At the first commercial CO plant takes the CO2 equivalent to 6,000 cars off the road. It's a small start. This is my wallet. I'm holding something that represents carbon that would have otherwise gone into the air. Imagine if all the products that we made when we made them, like growing tree leaves, actually improve the world, whether it's decarbonizing or going carbon negative. I think that's the world needs to start to look towards. For 10 out of 10, vroom. This is SS Tuatara. SS is the manufacturer. Tuatara is the model. It's making news because it's fast. How fast is it? In a recent drive outside Las Vegas, Nevada, the Tuatara hit 330 miles per hour and in 331 miles per hour on a carbon fiber chassis and gas-fueled turbo produces 700 horsepower. According to the SSC, that makes Tuatara the world's fastest production car, a vehicle that has a bunch of identical models that are available to the public. A bunch meaning 12 that are already sold out for next year. Available meaning maybe some after that. To the public meaning to the public that generally has 2 million to spend on a car. So tua means for two-hander, but it does have a tua about it, so you can assess why someone with a need for speed would be willing to burn out a bank account to win a race to get one. It's getting too late for a tour, Teresa, so we say to do so. But now, before we say hello, West Warwick High School, we saw your comment on youtube.com/CNN10. Thank you for watching from West Warwick, Rhode Island. I'm Kalajus.